class today. But because of the power and magic of technology, it's actually really here. Check it out.
Hi guys, I'm Yeonmi. I'm 20 years old right now. I was born in Haesan, North Korea.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Kim. I escaped to North Korea when I was 15 years old, and now I'm based in New York City.
My name is Julian. I'm so happy to share my story with all of you.
I like to do it. Yeah, I love it.
So we are actually one of 5 teams traveling across North America right now, talking about what we believe to be is one of the greatest challenges facing humanity today, and mobilizing our generation to support the North Korean people. Before we get into all that, I want us all to learn a new word today. Are you ready? Of course you are. The word is Changmadang. Repeat after me. Ready? Chang.
Changmadang.
You guys are fluent. You have to just learn a new word that means markets. And over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to share with you what's really going on in North Korea. And together with Yeonmi, Joseph, and Juyeon, we're going to show you that despite the scale of these challenges, there's hope. And there are real ways to get involved to support the North Korean people as they overcome these challenges to achieve their liberty. Now, I'm sure everyone in this room has heard of North Korea, yeah? But what do we really know about North Korea? Well, this is what the mainstream media has to say.
Just one little hair trigger generally. Now where does this go?
North Korea's Musadong missiles has been spotted on the eastern Korean coast, believed to be fueled and ready to launch. It is powerful enough to travel more than 2,000 miles, putting U.S. bases in Okinawa and Guam within its reach.
What we're talking about is a model that is really a very bare bones type of missile here. This is called the Musadong. It is believed to be
now to get the U.S. military officials say certain exercises are
If I saw that right, it would seem as if the mainstream media will have us to think that North Korea is this crazy dictator, Kim Jong-un, with his missiles and nukes. It's kind of a threat, but also kind of a joke, right? And it all seems pretty much hopeless. Well, that's why we're here today. We're here to let you guys know that there's so much more in North Korea's past. So much more. And yeah, the reality is that this presents a really big challenge facing our generation, but also a really big opportunity to work for a common humanity and to be a part of this historic movement. It's really important that everyone in this room realizes that North Korea has the most repressive government in the world. There's no other country left like it today. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor and just imagine with me. Imagine, let's say, Montreal was cut off from the rest of the country and governed just like North Korea. Okay. Well, 1, internet would be shut off and any other media would be banned, except for government propaganda channels. And 2, communication lines are pulled out of the region, literally cutting you off from the rest of the world. And if that wasn't bad enough, 3, it's not only illegal to move outside of Montreal without government permission, but it's also illegal to move within Montreal without government permission. And of course, any of the private businesses will be outlawed as well, so I guess that leads us to the question, right? What's going to happen to Montreal with everyone's freedom and potential suppressed like that? Well, you can expect to see a massive economic crash of people being trapped in this enforced poverty. The example that I gave you in regards to Montreal is, unfortunately, North Korea's reality today. Did you know that North Korea's per capita income is 20 times less than their counterparts in the South? Leaving 28% of North Korean children chronically malnourished. That's 1 out of 3 children. So I guess the next question is, right, why won't the people push back on the government? And the answer is that these extreme controls are being enforced through an incredible system of harsh punishment and repression that include forced labor, torture, even execution. So this is how it works, right? The government tries to use information blackouts and their propaganda to make you worship their leader. But if you were to somehow see through that and dare criticize the government and you're caught for it, not only you, but your whole family could be sentenced to a political prison camp. due to a system of collective punishment. These political prison camps are the apex of North Korea's structure. There are 5 of them. Not one person in this room or in this world deserves the level of horror and cruelty in these camps. I heard yesterday that you guys are going to start reading Escape from Camp 14. Yeah? That's cool. That book is written about our friend Shin Dong-hyuk. He was born in a political prison camp. And obviously, right, as a baby, there's nothing you could possibly do to land you in one of these camps, but in North Korea, even if one of your family members are considered guilty, your whole family can be punished. And this is exactly how they allow political dissent in their country.
Camp 14 was all that Shin Dong-hyuk says he knew for the first 23 years of his life. You wear what you're given, you eat what you're given, and you only do what you're told to do. The tip of his finger is missing. He says it was chopped off as punishment when he accidentally broke a machine in a prison factory. He also has serious scars on his back, stomach, and ankles, which he was willing to show us, but embarrassed to show on camera. In this building, a school of sorts, Shin says he watched his teacher beat a little girl to death for hoarding a few kernels of corn.
If you escape, you would be shot. If you try to escape or plan to escape, you would be shot. Even if you did not report someone who was trying to escape, you would be shot.
Did anybody ever explain to you why you were in a camp?
No, never. Because I was born there, I just thought those people who carry guns were born to carry guns. And prisoners like me were born as prisoners.
How did they torture you?
They hung me by the ankles. And they tortured me with fire.
He was tortured because his mother and older brother were accused of trying to escape. He was just 13 years old at the time.
And from the scars that I had, the wounds on my body, I think they couldn't have done more to me.
The shootings took place in this field, he says. The other prisoners were required to watch.
I was brought to the very front. That's where I saw my mother and my brother being dragged out. They hung her. And they shot my brother. What I worry about now is all those people in the prison camps. Children are still being born there, and somebody's probably being executed.
And do you think about that a lot?
There's an estimated 80,000 to 120,000 people within these camps. Mothers, fathers, sisters and brothers, even children. Some of them in these camps were doing something as little as criticizing their leader, aka having an opinion. And others are in these camps simply because they were related to someone who did. They're reminiscent of Nazi concentration camps and Soviet gulags, with the only difference being that they still exist today. The North Korean people have endured this economic and political oppression for so long, with the outside world doing so little about it. And again, with the media only focused on North Korea's nuclear weapons and only focused on North Korea's leaders, they're forgetting the most valuable asset to North Korea. People, right? What's happening to the people. So finally, this year, the United Nations actually published a report based on a year-long commission of inquiry, declaring that in North Korea, these crimes against humanity entail extermination, murder, enslavement, torture, imprisonment, rape, forced abortions, and other sexual violence, persecution on political, religious, racial, and gender grounds, the forcible transfer of populations, the enforced disappearance of persons, and the inhumane act of knowingly causing prolonged starvation. The gravity, scale, and nature of these violations reveal a state that does not have any parallel in the contemporary world. I'm going to bring my friend Joseph. He was actually born in North Korea.
When I was 4 or 5 years old, I started to see that my parents stopped providing the cookies that I used to have on the weekends. and that was the first sign of the famine. I didn't know what was coming, but I could see the darkness in my parents' face. My father was the first one that I have seen dying of starvation. I never thought that I would live without my father. My sister was sold to China, worth less than $200, to save just her younger brother, which was me. I lost my family, but the hardest part for me was to give up my dignity as a human.
So the famine that hit in the mid-1990s was an unimaginable tragedy in North Korean society, but also a really big turning point for the North Korean people. Because through their desperation, they realized that the only way to survive was to rebel, to break free from the structure of oppression that was holding them down. And you know, out of this adversity emerged a whole new society, and with it a whole new generation of North Koreans. A generation that we refer to as the Changmadang generation. These are our peers born in the 1980s and the 1990s. So different from previous generations because they grew up during and after the famine, a time where so much change and upheaval was prominent in North Korean society.
Changmadang generation is just like me, somebody who was born in 80s and 90s. So we grew up during the famine time, so really we didn't get anything from the government.
네, 정부에서 그 고난의 행군 이후에 배급이랑 저는 배급에 대한 기억이 없거든요. 그러다 보니까 장사하면서 살았어요.
So this generation basically have to survive by themselves. So this generation very involved with the black market right now. So they are doing the business there and making money.
3살 때 양말 장사를 이렇게 시작했었고 그때부터 또 어머니께서 술 하는 법도 배우고 두부 하는 법도 배우고 열 하는 법도 해서 친구들하고 같이 힘합쳐서 팔게 됐었어요. 그러니까 일단은 장마당이라는 게 엄청 그러니까 진짜 처음보다 엄청나게 지금은 장마당이 성장했거든요. 제가 있을 때만 해도 엄청나게 그걸 봤고 근데 사람들이 일단은 그런 장사를 하면서 정부의 세뇌나 그런 것들이 서울이 되고 형식적이 되는 거예요.
Like my parents' generation, even though they were suffering or they were hungry, they had the faith in the regime and they believed in it. But my generation is through the market and we could access to the outside media. Therefore, we had very less loyalty to the regime and we could have different ideas.
I want to take this time right now to share with you just how important this new generation is by identifying 3 things. So, the Changmadang generation took the economy into their own hands at a young age in North Korea. We realized that the people who survived the famine did so because they stopped relying on government-controlled economy, instead started relying on themselves. So they went out and they sold whatever they could find, whatever they could make. And this is how the Changmadang, or the markets, emerged in North Korea and started to grow. The North Korean people found ways to buy and sell goods in these illegal markets, and in turn created this grassroots capitalist economy that could provide for themselves and others the government can no longer provide. Basically, they received no type of aid from the government. They hustled and did business activities for themselves. And this is a product of a generation growing up in a time where the government was no longer a provider, but instead an obstacle they needed to work around.
If there was no market in North Korea, there is no way I would survive.
이런 사상, 세뇌 교육, 학업 이런 것들이 다 형식적이고 제일 1차적인 먹을 걸 해결해야 될 거 아니에요. 그러다 보니까 장마당에 다 넘쳐나고
Because nothing is coming from the regime. And what can we do? We have to go to market and trading, making money from there.
어쩌면 딱 북한하고 생각하면 서로 분리된 주민들과 정부가 딱 생각나거든요. 주민들은 인생은 다 변화됐다고 생각해요.
This is really changing the country now. It changes people's life. It changes North Korea society itself. And it's a big transition for the country.
Second, even though the government has gone to extreme lengths to shut them off from the outside world and any other sources of outside information, this Changmadang generation was able to break through the government propaganda and develop a whole new awareness and mentality towards the outside world. the 1990s, there were two really important factors that made it possible for our friends to gain access to these new sources of information. The first one being that tens, or even hundreds of thousands of North Koreans had direct experience with the outside world. Okay, mostly China, but for the first time. Whether it's for trade, illegal or legal, work, or even fleeing as refugees only to be caught and returned back to North Korea. But when they returned, they used that opportunity to go back into their communities and share what they had seen, what they had heard, and their overall experience. And this just ignited a hunger and sparked a curiosity within them to want to know more and more and more. I want to bring in my friends, Yummy and Cheyenne, to tell you a little bit about the second part, because they actually have first-hand experience.
그러고 라디오뿐 아니라 예전에는 CD 그리고 녹화기라고 해서 중국에서 DVD 플레이어 같은 것들이 나왔는데 그런 것들도 최근에 너무 감시가 심해지고 통제가 심해지다 보니까 최근에는 USB, SD 카드 시대는 최근이라는데 제가 있을 때는 USB까지 있었어요. 거기 있을 때 한국 영화, 미국 영화, 인도 영화, 유럽 영화 많이 봤어요. 정말 많이 봤는데
I was so like living in the very oppressive regime, and it was hard for me to think about me having the same lifestyle as like they are in the movie. But later, I just couldn't stop that desire. I wanted just to be free. I wanted to wear jeans. I wanted to sing the songs. I love the rap song. I wanted to see the movies. That's all I wanted then. I couldn't believe why I cannot do this in this country. And I felt, oh yeah, maybe there's something else outside the world. And I just realized that maybe everyone is not living like us.
I'm so excited to say that Yummy and Chiyun's cases are not isolated ones. Meet my friend Nat Kretchen. He's a researcher at Intermedia and a world-leading expert when it comes to information flowing into North Korea.
And then we get to foreign DVDs, foreign dramas and movies. And this is by far the most widely accessed form of foreign media in North Korea. And it's one that we've just seen incredible growth in. You are not supposed to be able to see this track like that. And yet, we do, year on year. And I can tell you this growth trend continues. Those who had access to outside media, information, even entertainment, were much more predisposed to think favorably about South Korea, the US, the outside world.
So the Changmadang generation came of age when markets, technology, new sources of information created an unprecedented access that helped them learn about the outside world. And like young people everywhere, right? Their curiosity was high and their fear of risk was low, pushing them to the forefront of this technology use and foreign media consumption. Unlike their parents who had no choice but to grow up believing the ideology and worship of the Kim leaders, these new foreign films and South Korean dramas and things like that actually enabled our North Korean friends to consider alternative realities. They even fantasize about the lives that they would see in these foreign films. The really cool part, though, is that watching these illegal movies has become increasingly less of an individual behavior, because they're starting to share them with their families and friends. And that actually leads me to my last point. The Changmadang generation is more networked than any other generation before it. Traditionally, like I said before, right, the regime has gone to extreme lengths to eliminate any challenging its power. So it had ways of monitoring different communities, associations, groups, even relationships between two people. Basically, there was a spy in every community in group. But with these new economic realities and information flowing into the country, this has created a whole new level of networking between the North Korean people. You have to understand that a lot of these market activities involve working together. That means buying, selling, cooperating. Most importantly, building trust. And a lot of the times, this happened outside of the government's control. And it even ran against the government's restrictions, but this was something that had to be done in order to make money and to survive in North Korea.
그러니까 정부에 의존하지 않고 우리 자신들이 가족끼리 힘합쳐서 장사를 해서 먹고 살았어요. 저희가 장사를 하려면 하는 타켓은 다 일반 주민들이에요. 그리고 그냥 보면 서로가 그냥 같이 장사를 해요. 많은 일반 주민들이 서로 장사하면서 교환하고 물물 교환을 많이 하고
I think when I imagine the life without the market, it's really impossible to live. Because the governments, they don't give out anything.
So the non-compliance, disobedience, frustration felt toward the regime was not just an individual feeling anymore, but one that was shared, networked, and normalized amongst this generation. When you think about that, it's really significant. But to sum up, right, like why is the rise of the Changdong generation so important? Like, why should I care about this? For one, they grew up in a new economic and changing information reality. And two, they're able to network with other North Koreans like never before. And these trends are long-term and irreversible, and in the long run, make the regime's structure of oppression unsustainable. And we've seen, right? We've seen how this Changdong generation has impacted North Korean society. From people like Chu-young, Young-hee, and Joseph, who've escaped North Korea and now resettled in South Korea and other countries. We're just so happy to see them become some of the leading voices on this issue, some of the most effective agents of change for their homes. Like I said before, right? At this point in time, it's pretty much impossible to fight back against the structure of oppression within the country. The political control is just too strong, and there are no oppositional voices like Aung San Suu Kyi or Nelson Mandela within North Korea. So denied the chance to fight back, the North Korean people are fleeing their borders into China, becoming some very effective agents of change from the outside. Even then, once the North Korean refugee makes that daring escape from North Korea into China, they're still not free. If they're caught by Chinese authorities, they can actually be repatriated or sent back into North Korea. And what's waiting for them there are harsh punishments that include forced labor, torture, and imprisonment. So as you can imagine, right, this puts them in a very vulnerable situation where they're not only susceptible to labor exploitation, but sexual exploitation as well. Countless of North Korean refugee women are trafficked and sold as brides in China. And that is why I believe our greatest responsibility lies right here. If a North Korean refugee is in danger of exploitation or repatriation, we can provide them with a safe resettlement in a free country where they can finally start utilizing their full potential. I'm actually going to bring in my North Korean friends to tell you a little bit more about this.
Well, how many views do you see in North Korea?
I think around this time I saw like pretty warm and Titanic. So that's why, you know what? I saw it! Is that it? Is that it? My name is Yeonmi Park. I was born in North Korea. I escaped when I was 13 years old.
So it was a time where I had to decide whether I wanted to die on the street, like my father, starvation, or do I wanted to risk my life, where there was a glimpse of hope that I can make to China.
북한에 있을 때나 중국에 와서도 저는 그냥 나는 죽을 수도 있고 그냥 오기 전에 살 거다 이런 그런 생각, 가망이 그렇게 없었어요.
Life in China was harder than life in North Korea.
If I wasn't caught in China, I would have been sent back to North Korea, or I can be cared.
거기 오면 어느 순간에 강제 북송 당할지 모르고 어느 순간에 잡힐지 모르니까 공부하는데 너무 위험해요.
My main concern was to survive, find food for the next year, because I wanted to see my sister there.
North Korean girls, just like me, are being sold in China. My friend got sold into a town, in Chinatown, in older men markets, sharing market. And it's not like just they share their as a just animals or less than that.
제가 도착해서 이틀 만인가 공간이 쳐들어온 거예요. 제가 숨어 있는 집에 어떻게 알았는지 저는 모르겠어요. 근데 되는 날이었어요. 북한으로 넘어가는 날이었는데 차가 한 대 온 거예요. 그래서 우리가 같이 동생이랑 차를 탔는데 그 차가 저희를 구해주는 차였어요.
there are so many North Korean defectors who are still hiding in China, who are still struggling and suffering.
Even though they want to run away, but they don't know where they have to go. So this is a big problem.
After Link helped me escape China, I had the opportunity to come to America.
저는 정말 매 순간이 꿈 같을 때 많거든요. 그래서 막 깨어나지 않고 싶은 그런 마음이 들어요. 저한테는 자유가 그냥 꿈이 이루어진 것 같아요.
Nowadays, whenever I decide my major or my job, I think, oh, this is freedom.
I finished high school and I am currently attending college. And last year, I even had the privilege to share my story at TED.
네, 저는 지금 미국 샌프란시스코에서 어학연수하고 있습니다. 영어 열심히 배우고 있습니다.
Today, I feel that all my relatives and friends are still not free.
If we work together, we can give more North Korean refugees the opportunity we have.
I believe that we can change North Koreans' lives in so many ways.
We can't do this alone. We need everyone to stand and face this problem with us together.
Now, bringing a North Korean refugee to safety and freedom is not easy. It involves a 3,000-mile journey through China into Southeast Asia, crossing tough terrain and multiple borders. It also costs $3,000 to bring one North Korean refugee to safety and freedom, and to provide them with resettlement to empower them to be successful in their new lives. Since 2010, because of people just like you, we've been able to rescue now it's 300 North Korean refugees, which is amazing. I want you guys to meet Bethany, yeah? Bethany ran 3 online campaign pages, and thanks to her online activism, has helped us rescue 3 North Korean refugees. And she recently just started our fall campaign, and now has already raised the funds to rescue 2 more North Korean refugees, so she's amazing. And then there's Chris, right? Who's fundraising $1 per mile on his 14,000-mile bike journey from Thailand to Turkey. Bethany, Chris, and thousands of others are raising the funds to enable us to continue this life-changing movement. We realize that the more support means the more people like Young, Joseph, and Chuyung that we can assist and bring to safety and freedom. So this is actually our opportunity. If you guys receive one of those little booklets there, feel free to put your name and email on them, and HQ will actually be contacting you and having you get further involved. But I know what a lot of you guys are probably thinking, right? Like $3,000 is a lot of money. I'm getting choked up here. But yeah, you would be right. $3,000 is a lot of money. But if you're committed to this effort, we're going to help you achieve your goals. Because it all starts by kicking off your own rescue campaign. You can think of it as like starting a Kickstarter, raising the funds to rescue the North Korean refugee. So even if you raise $25 or $50, collectively, that's going to make a huge impact on this issue. And I want everyone in here to know that you guys can make a difference. Yeah, this is a hopeless, it seems like a hopeless situation, but you guys can make a difference. But if you're still contemplating, right, because I know not a lot of people kind of do this kind of thing, or you don't know if your friends will donate to your page, I want you guys to keep in mind that you won't only be giving this person the opportunity to achieve safety and freedom, but you're also giving them the opportunity to become an effective agent of change themselves, just like Joseph did.
Joseph, I made it to China on February 15th, 2006. I was 16 years old. But it was harder than living in North Korea because I was not free. I met someone who was running an underground shelter for North Koreans and was allowed to live there and eat regular meals for the first time in many years. Later that year, an activist helped me escape China and go to the United States as a refugee. I Coming to America without knowing a word of English, I took school seriously. I received an academic award for excellence. I did not come here by myself. Many people helped me along the way to get here. North Koreans are fighting hard to survive. They have to force themselves to survive, have hope to survive, but they cannot make it without help. Your act of love and caring can also save another Joseph's life and change thousands of other Josephs who are still having hope to survive. Thank you.
Something that's really cool that a lot of people don't know is that when a North Korean refugee is brought to safety and freedom in a safe country, they can actually reestablish contact with their families and friends back in North Korea. They do this by using a system of brokers and Chinese mobile phones that are smuggled into the North Korean border. Take a look.
그리고 제일 큰 영향을 미치는 게 저는 외부에 나온 탈북민들이라고 생각해요. 그래서 저는 탈북민 구출이 되게 중요하다고 생각하거든요. 북에서 탈북하신 분들이 정착을 잘하고 잘 살수록 북한 내부의 변화에 그게 오히려 미디어보다 더 엄청난 영향력이 있다고 생각해요. 북한 여기서 정착을 잘하는 분들이 북한 내부에 있는 주민들인데 그 오늘 다 전해요. 현실상 화폐, 그 경제적인 것부터 정치적인 거, 그리고 생활적인 거 다 전화로 통하거든요.
So every year I send the money to my relatives. I have more than 20 relatives in North Korea, and we send them the more $5,000 in a year, every year. And they are receiving that money, and they use that money as a start cash for their business in market.
한국에서 이렇게 달러를 보내면 저는 중국 돈으로 바꿨거든요. 중국 돈이 좀 달러보다 많이 유통되다 보니까 그래서 그 달러를 받아서 중국 돈으로 바꿔서 저는 항상 몸에다가 중국 돈 한 700원, 중국 돈 700원 정도는 처지하고 다녔어요. 어떤 일이 생겨도 뇌물로 줄 수도 있고 제가 단속에 걸려도 공부하라고 영어 사전 일단 전자사전 있잖아요. 그거랑 도시바 랩탑이랑 MP3도 보내줬었고 그리고 컴퓨터 조정하는 컴퓨터에 대해서 가르쳐주는 교과서 같은 것도 보내줬었고 고향에 연결하고 있거든요. 근데 그분들을 통해서 진짜 많이 바뀌고 있어요.
So the money and information flowing into the country is actually accelerating the bottom-up changes that's happening and ultimately weakening the structure of oppression. But hey, let's say you raise the $3,000 and you rescue North Korean refugee. Then what? Great question. The answer is that the money is also used to fuel our resettlement assistance programs. These programs enable our North Korean friends to transition into a new life so they can thrive in their newly found freedom. We accomplish this by providing personal development, education support, scholarships, and career development. I can't stress enough that all of this progress is made possible because of people just like you. So, this fall, our goal is to rescue 200 more North Korean refugees. And as we're traveling to different high schools, universities, colleges, churches, even people's apartments, we've just been getting an overwhelming love and support for the North Korean issue and for the North Korean people. And yeah, this number's huge, but I feel like it's totally doable. And I really encourage you guys to join our efforts and start a rescue campaign. Hopefully see this number be fulfilled, definitely. All right, next week, we're going to go into a Q&A session. Feel free to ask anything about North Korea, anything about the presentation, anything about being a nomad. I'm going to call my friend James up here. In the meantime, we're going to be passing out a bucket with a pen inside. So if you guys want, I really encourage you guys to fill out your cards that you have. Yeah, and join us. And also, if you guys have any spare change or anything like that, I really encourage you guys to throw it in as well. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions?
I think it's all sinking in probably for a lot of us. It's so unimaginable, I think, for a lot of us to think that this is going on. But to see the efforts that are being made for the refugees and the possibilities, I think just make us want to be better people and strive to do good and try to help out the people of North Korea, definitely. Girls, this is your time to ask questions because we'll be reading about this and everything. Any questions that popped up in your minds just as you were, even from yesterday from my class, who we were listening to Asia, the speech. Do you remember who the girl was? The name of the girl, I think.
Yeah, it's Yami or Chia. Oh, I get it.
She spoke very good English. She's quite young.
I want you guys to keep in mind as you're thinking of questions that, yeah, the gravity is really heavy, but there's hope, right? And there's something that we can do tangibly in the now that can make a huge impact on this issue. So I know it can be, you received a lot of information and a lot of, it was really heavy and really sad, but I want you guys to realize that you guys can make a difference and that change is happening in the country as well. So you can kind of leave with that hope. Because I think that's something that I struggle with too, especially learning about this issue. I was just like, yeah, North Korea, it's sort of parallel to something that can't be fixed, right? And so, yeah, just to know that there's change happening and that you can be a part of that change as well. Any questions? No? Yes?
It's always me.
Back there, right there.
How did you first learn about all of this? What was your inspiration to travel?
Yeah, so, you know, like I said, I just graduated high school, so I was all prepared to go to university. I'm actually going to Berkeley College of Music. It's in Boston. But I deferred a semester because I really was mobilized to do something about this. And yeah, so they came to my school and other nomads, and they gave a presentation similar to something like this, and I was blown away. Right? I didn't know there were political prison camps in the 21st century. I didn't know all of this was happening. All I knew was what the mainstream media was telling us. So the nuclear weapons and Kim Jong-un, his haircut, obesity stuff. And so it kind of seemed like a joke to me. But yeah, then I got a chance to learn about the 24 million other people within the country. And I definitely wanted to do something about it. And what a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, why this issue? You're not Korean. And I'm like, oh, you're good. Your eyes, great. But yeah, obviously I'm passionate about a lot of things. But I really am passionate about this as well because it's so crazy to me how all of these things are going on and nobody knows. I didn't know. People just don't know. And the fact that we don't know, like props to the regime for being so closed off because wow, its gravity is huge. And so I definitely wanted to make an impact. And so yeah, my grandma was heavily involved in civil rights. So she marched with Martin Luther King and did sit-ins. And so I felt like it was always in my blood to want to help. And so yeah, I applied, I got accepted, and the next hard thing to do was convince my mom to let me do this. I told her, I was like, Mom, yeah, I'm gonna be a nomad. She was like, what? Okay. But as time was getting closer for me to fly out, I was like, Mom, like, this is for real. I actually want to do this. And she was like, no. But yeah, 2 days before I had to fly out, and previously I've been educating her about the issue. And yeah, she was just like, Tiffany, are you going to North Korea? And I was like, no. No, I'm not. She was like, all right, you can go. So I packed my bags and I flew from New Jersey all the way to California. That's where you train for 6 weeks. And, you know, you learn about North Korea, present day, history, and all in between. And don't think that you guys can't do it either because we have nomads from the UK, Austria, Vancouver. So let's get some Canadian East Side. But yeah, and it's crazy. And we launched, September 25th? And we drove from California all the way to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was our first stop. I think it took us like 3 days. We slept in the van for 2 of them. But yeah, all for the North Korean people, right? And it's just been a really crazy experience for me. Because I'm in kind of like that transition stage from like teen to like older teen to adult. So a lot of growing is being done. But even James, he's 25. But he's growing every day, and Esther's growing, and it's really a crazy experience. And I really encourage any of you guys, even if you're not passionate about North Korea, but if you're passionate about trafficking or racial issues or anything that bugs you, don't let that passion go to waste. Really hone it and find something that you love and work for a common good. Yes?
What do you want to do later on in life? Do you want to continue with this music?
Yeah. This is gonna sound really random, guys. But yeah, I wanna be a musician. Yeah, I'm going to music school. But that does not, that goes to show you, right? You can do whatever you love and still have a heart and passion for problems in the world that you want to see fixed. And so, yeah, hopefully my dream is to change the world with my positive music. I don't know, but yeah, I'm definitely going to be still connected with this organization. It's definitely one of those organizations where once you're a nomad, you're never not a nomad. So I'll definitely be, in contact with the North Korean issue and liberty in Korea. But yeah, those are my future plans. Oh yeah. It's like, okay. I just see a lot of this. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to commend you, how articulate you are at your age and how passionate and mature. I have to really commend you. It was beautiful. And I have to tell you, this is the first time that we have not heard a pin drop and have not done any discipline, or it's the first time, and I've been here for 31 years.
Too bad you can't see me blush, guys.
No, you.
Thank you. We're gonna end this Q&A before I die. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions that you didn't get the chance to ask, or you just remembered as I close the Q&A, please come up to us at lunch. We'll be chilling all day. Yeah, we're right after this presentation as well. But just to close, those cards, I hope you guys ripped. You guys did. Okay. Well, then you can pick one up on your way out, but there's 7 North Korean stories, refugee stories in there. I really encourage you guys to read them, share them with your families and friends, and ultimately share the impact that they can be to make. And lastly, we have some really cool merch outside, and we're going to be selling it at lunch as well. So I really encourage you guys to maybe look around. If you didn't bring money, we have an online store as well. We take card, check, cash. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, gosh. So the shirts usually are like 20 to 25. And the reason why there are those prices because we have a thing called legacy donors, and they believe in our cause so much that they cover all operational costs. So essentially, you buying a shirt is actually making a donation, which is really cool. And this shirt right here, this is a Sunwoo shirt, and Sunwoo actually used to be a government propaganda artist for North Korea. Then he escaped and started using his art to raise awareness instead. So that one's 25 because $5 actually goes back to his family in North Korea. So that's a little fun fact about that shirt. And last but not least,
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for coming.